In other words, what the Assemblyman said is he has no experience.
What I don't have in experience, I make up for in integrity. And what you don't have in integrity, you could never make up for in experience.
Yes.
We have the architect and we have the apprentice of no cash bail, which has been a disaster.
Just some of the fiery moments from the New York City mayoral debate last night. Andrew Cuomo, Zohran Mamdani, and Curtis Sliwa touched on topics from crime and affordability to who would be most likely to stand up to Donald Trump. With less than 3 weeks until Election Day, voters are thinking critically on who they want to lead the city. And joining us now is Nick Reisman, Politico reporter. And Nick, what's your reaction to last night's debate? Who would you say came out on top?
Well, really what happened was you had Zohran Mamdani going into this as the clear front runner in nearly every poll that we have seen since his upset Democratic primary win back in June. And quite frankly, he left this debate as the clear front runner. Mamdani did not have really any major mistakes that he made. Andrew Cuomo tried to trip him up on a few key issues that have been really kind of difficult for Mamdani during this campaign, like Israel and public safety. And Mamdani, for the most part, was able to parry a lot of those attacks, and he got through on his message about affordability and the cost of living, something that has been really kind of dominating this campaign throughout. It's one of the top tier issues for nearly every single voter in New York City, and it's something that Mamdani is likely going to be carrying into this general election. So he had a pretty good night going forward. Andrew Cuomo did not land that knockout punch, however.
So affordability, safety, the major topics, and you said that the candidates, how well did they do addressing them?
Well, you know, when Andrew Cuomo had his strongest moment of the evening, that was likely when he was attacking Mamdani over his criticism of Israel, especially the war in Gaza, the way that Mamdani has declined to fully condemn Hamas, the way that Mamdani appeared with streamer Hassan Piker, who has said that America deserved the 9/11 attacks. That was ultimately the strongest moment for Andrew Cuomo in this debate. It's the part of the debate where he seemed the most confident, but a lot of the forum was really dominated by the discussions that Mamdani has excelled in during this campaign, which has been, focusing on that affordability issue. Even at the end, when Cuomo tried to debate Mamdani on the Christopher Columbus statue, Mamdani wasn't going to bite on that. He said, I'm focused on affordability, laser focused on that cost of living concern, the debate over the statue and these kind of like local culture wars. He's not going to engage on something like that. There's been a lot of message discipline that we've seen from the Mamdani campaign really throughout the summer and heading into the fall, and that served him pretty well so far.
Well, last night was very important for Andrew Cuomo, who trails Mamdani. How do you think the former governor did in convincing voters that he is the better alternative?
What Andrew Cuomo needs to do here is convince moderate Democratic voters who are uneasy with a hard left candidate like Mamdani. He's a Democratic socialist. He also doesn't have really any experience in managing a government. Andrew Cuomo does. He was governor for a decade. He was attorney general, housing secretary for President Bill Clinton. And he has a track record of managing big, complex bureaucracies that you really kind of want in a mayor. So he tried to hit him also on the experience factor. Of course, on the other side of that is the fact that Andrew Cuomo resigned 4 years ago in scandal. He's denied any wrongdoing, but he's been accused of mishandling the COVID pandemic and, of course, was accused of sexual harassment, which he's denied. So the experience argument can really only take Andrew Cuomo so far. Again, he did not land that knockout punch that's really going to make up that double-digit polling deficit that he has against Mamdani at this point.
And finally, Republican Curtis Sliwa, the middleman in the debate. We all know his biggest issue is safety. How effective was Curtis, and is this still just an uphill battle for him?
Well, if you were watching X or any social media during the debate, Curtis Sliwa was clearly the favorite candidate of social media. He is a longtime anti-crime activist, kind of a fixture in New York, something of an eccentric character. He really went into this debate, though, trying to appear mayoral. He wanted to seem like a steady hand at the wheel, not the usual eccentric Curtis Sliwa that we often see in New York City over the last several decades. He didn't even have the red beret, which he usually wears as the Guardian Angels founder. But ultimately, you know, Curtis Sliwa did have some interesting and fun moments. Look, he's got an uphill climb. He's a Republican running in a very Democratic city that tends to elect Democrats, with some exceptions. So it's going to be interesting to see if Curtis Sliwa can somehow retain enough Republican votes that Andrew Cuomo, quite frankly, is going to be competing for if he wants to stitch together a winning coalition. All
right. Nick Reisman, Politico reporter, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We have much more on the debate on our website, cbsnewyork.com. You're going to find our live blog and the key takeaways from last night. We also have a full Voters Decide guide.